You know, I'm starting to think Brawl Stars is running out of ideas with these new brawlers because whenever I see Otis, I can only think of what if we combine Cordelius with Lou. I'm sure that would be a good idea. Well, after a few weeks of using him, I could see why so many players think he deserves a nerf because he is quite strong, but I wouldn't consider him to be the best controller brawler. So with that said, in this video I'll be going over what makes him powerful and which modes to consider using him on. Now, when I said Otis was like a combination of Cordelius and Lou, I wasn't kidding because he does take some aspects from both of them. Otis' super prevents brawlers from attacking or using any of their gadgets, similar to Cordelius' poison mushroom. On the other hand, his normal attack is a bit similar to Lou's attack, in which they shoot 3 projectiles that deal huge damage but aren't exactly accurate. If you're familiar with using those two brawlers, I have a feeling Otis would not only be familiar but also easy to get good with. You may have seen many players use this gadget called Fat Splatter, which creates a large puddle that damages anyone for a little over 1200 damage. I think this is a great gadget to use, especially on some modes like Heist, which I'll get to in a minute. And I believe it's better than his other gadget called Dormant Start, which places his super on the ground in case you miss. I don't recommend using this on Showdown, not just because of how slow it is to get a super, but relatively speaking, it's not guaranteed to work as intended. It's also not really practical since you're likely to get a super at least twice in one match unless you play aggressively. Now for star power, I'm currently using ink refills, which allows him to shoot 4 projectiles instead of 3. I feel like this would be the more popular pick instead of stencil glue, which increases the effect of his super by 33%, or basically 1 second. His super already takes a while to get, so I think it's best to do extra damage whenever possible. Now moving on to some modes, I first want to start off with Heist because I've seen him being used here quite a lot, and as you might expect, it's mainly because of this gadget. On a map like this, I think it's perfect since it allows you to control one side and force the enemy team to respond in some way. He also does quite a lot of damage to the vault, which I'm sure could have been a lot more if I had his star power in this match. But regardless, I think he's a good choice here. The same goes for Gem Grab, which is quite a popular choice for Otis. However, I'd be lying if I said it was a smooth sailing experience. The biggest drawback that I noticed with Otis is how slow his attack can be, which sounds odd, but as you can see, it can be difficult to land all your hits. Apart from that, sometimes it feels like his attack is minimum or that there isn't some type of added benefit to it like Lou's attack, if that makes sense. For that reason, I highly recommend getting Ink Refill if you plan on using him in modes other than Showdown. It makes even more sense to get it if you want to play him on Knockout or Bounty in this case. I expected to do better in this match, but despite that range, I kept missing my shots way too often. I have no doubt he can be amazing in this mode, but I think I'll just stick with Showdown just for trophy farming. So in my honest opinion, I think Otis is a good brawler, but I still prefer Lou for everything else. But let me know what you guys think about him in the comments. Anyways, have a good day.